Emily Carter was the kind of person who always took the safe route, until the night she got into Alan Ridgway's car and was never seen again. What began as a simple ride home turned into a chilling mystery that would uncover secrets far darker than anyone in Maple Ridge could imagine. On a cold Friday night in October, Emily Carter finished her shift at the Maple Ridge Diner, where she worked part-time to help pay for her college tuition. The diner, a quiet place off the main road, had been unusually busy that evening, and by the time she clocked out, it was nearly midnight. She wrapped her coat tightly around her and stepped into the cool night air, pulling her phone from her pocket. She sent a quick text to her roommate, catching a ride. Be home soon. Emily wasn't someone who typically broke routine. She often called the same taxi driver or took the bus, depending on her schedule. But that night, something was different. Her roommate later confirmed Emily had mentioned a new acquaintance, someone she'd met recently through a local rideshare group on social media. Emily had said he was safe, that they'd chatted a few times, and he lived nearby. No one thought much of it at the time. The following morning, her roommate noticed Emily's bed was still made. Her phone calls went straight to voicemail. It wasn't like Emily to leave without a word. By noon, her friends and family were calling around, checking with the diner, local hospitals, and the campus where she studied part-time. No one had seen or heard from her since she walked out of work the night before. Concern turned into alarm, and by evening, Emily's disappearance was officially reported to the police. Investigators interviewed co-workers, combed through surveillance footage from businesses near the diner, and reviewed her digital activity. They found her last text, time-stamped 11:48 p.m. and her phone had gone dark just minutes later. Surveillance footage offered the first significant clue. A grainy image from a traffic camera near the town's edge showed a young woman matching Emily's description getting into a dark-colored SUV. The timestamp matched her departure time. Investigators tried enhancing the image, but it was too low quality to read the license plate. The make and model of the vehicle appeared to be an older Ford Explorer, but it could have been one of several similar SUVs. This led police to search the rideshare records Emily might have used. However, her phone's location data stopped abruptly. No active rides were logged through any major rideshare app that night. That's when authorities discovered a private rideshare group on social media where people in Maple Ridge and surrounding towns shared informal carpool arrangements. The group was unregulated, and anyone could post or respond. Emily had been active there just a few days earlier. As investigators looked closer, they realized how vulnerable these types of arrangements were. There were no background checks, no ratings, no official tracking, just names and profile pictures. Emily had responded to a post offering late-night rides for cheap and safe travel. The post had since been deleted, and the user who posted it gone without a trace. What started as a normal night after a long shift had turned into something else entirely. Emily Carter had simply vanished. No witnesses, no clear suspect, and no idea where that last ride had taken her. As investigators dug deeper into Emily Carter's disappearance, attention turned to the shadowy world of informal rideshare groups. These were digital bulletin boards disguised as community forums, places where people offered rides in exchange for gas money or a small fee. Emily had joined one such group a few weeks before she vanished. It had over 3,000 members, many of whom used it daily. The post she had replied to had been removed, but not before police managed to retrieve a cached version from an archive page. The username on the post was Alan_R1. Tracing the username led to an unverified account with a few vague profile details, no clear photo, a listed hometown that didn't exist, and only a handful of public comments. The account had been created less than 2 months earlier and had vanished the night Emily disappeared. This struck investigators as more than a coincidence. A subpoena to the platform revealed the associated email address and IP location, which traced back to a rental property on the outskirts of town. The address belonged to a house registered under the name of Alan Ridgeway, a 36-year-old man with no criminal history and a background in freelance tech repair. Neighbors described him as polite but reclusive. He had lived in the house for nearly a year but was rarely seen outside. 2 days before police arrived at the property, Ridgeway had reportedly loaded a few belongings into an old SUV and left without a word. The garage door had been left ajar, and the lights in the house were still on. Inside the home, investigators found signs of a rushed departure. Food was rotting in the fridge. The closets were open in half, but what raised red flags was what they found in the garage. A large plastic top with long blonde strands of hair clinging to it. DNA tests later confirmed it matched Emily's nearby. They discovered a half-full gas can, a flashlight, and a roll of duct tape. The house was searched from top to bottom. There were no computers, no phones, and no trace of Emily herself. But detectives found a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards in the bedroom. Inside were printouts of conversations from the rideshare group with handwritten notes next to several user profiles. Most disturbing of all were pages torn from a journal that seemed to detail thoughts about control, obedience, and vanishing without consequence. The evidence was circumstantial but chilling. Emily's DNA at the scene, the ride request post, and Ridgeway's sudden disappearance were enough to list him as the prime suspect. Yet without a body, a witness, or clear proof of abduction, charges couldn't be filed. A regional alert went out for Alan Ridgeway and his SUV. The police urged anyone who had ever accepted a ride from him to come forward. Tips poured in from nearby towns, some vague, others eerily familiar, but none confirmed his whereabouts. Emily had seemingly vanished into thin air, but the search had only just begun. What lay ahead would reveal that she wasn't the only one.